do I need to do an MBA? They said, yeah, you can try doing an MBA, but why do you want to do an MBA? That was the question. So I asked myself, it's always good to ask yourself, what are you looking for? What is your passion? What do you want to achieve out of it? I did not need to sell and tell people what the 3-letter CFA stand after my name.
Accordingly, you have to go ahead with what your long-term vision about your career is. Obviously, if you're making a career in taxation, you go for a CA, not a CFA. If you're looking at finance and welcoming all the students for the webinar, and we are going to have an amazing discussion on diversity in careers in finance today. And we have with us Gaurav Kapoor from the CFA Institute. He's Director, Public Relations. And we are going to dive into that part. So with the government relations aspect of the CFA Institute, as to what goes around with the role, how is it related to finance, and how does the finance bit play into the government relations aspect. And it's been a very wonderful journey, Gaurav. We met, I think, 2 years back in Delhi, a while back, and we've been in touch since then. And so he's done CA and CFA and MBA. So we'll get a little bit of sneak peek in terms of, the comparison which Gaurav told me. So, we were having a conversation before as to what are we going to discuss, what do the students want to know and everything, and about their careers and about your careers basically. And he told me that that's a talking point in terms of comparison of the courses. And also with your transition in your career into asset management is there, and banking is there, and the government relation. And government relation is from the academia standpoint. So the industry becomes academics. So we want to start the discussion with this. And Gaurav, if you can take us through a little detailed introduction about, yourself, and through your introduction, trying to understand these two questions and these two parameters.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. In fact, actually, I'm very excited to talk about my story. So my story begins in, like any finance grad, like 26 years back. Well, actually more than that, 27, 28 years back. When I was looking at, I want to pursue my career in finance. What options do I have? Like anyone, you look at options and you look at what is already out there. I started my journey of a chartered accountancy. I did my CA. Having done that, I realized that I need something more, and that's where, I was talking to people, and then I realized that do I need to do an MBA? They said, yeah, you can try doing an MBA. But why do you want to do an MBA? That was a question. So I asked myself, it's always good to ask yourself, what are you looking for? What is your passion? What do you want to achieve out of it? So if I look at what the CA gave me, taught me about taxations, about Companies Act, about local regulations, and it made me an expert into accountancy, right? And which was great. But I wanted a more holistic view. And that's when I started my MBA journey, and I did my MBA out there, which gave me a more managerial, overall business perspective of things happen and how do you take stress, so that was also taught in. So that was something which MBA gave me. Having done my MBA, I started my as anyone, you start your career out there and you start your journey, and I started my journey in asset management. I did it around 1.5 years, and then I still felt that I think I still need something else. There is, I'm not really an expert, and I'm looking right, left and center, people are really expert. What does it take for me to be a great person when it comes to right from valuations to other analysis to investment analysis out there to portfolio management? And that's where one of my senior colleagues, he said, I think you should pursue CFA. That's where my journey of CFA started, and I enrolled in the program, and it was a fantastic journey. I have to tell you that, I have learned so much during my journey. It goes, the CFA, the charter goes along with you towards various careers, how you move along. It doesn't really end where you start from. So for me, it started in the investment field. As a research analyst, you're researching stocks, equity markets, capital, you're looking at NPV, IRRs and other things, understanding, and you're doing a really fantastic job. It's beautiful. I mean, the kind of depth which get it, that was really helping me. Then after some time, that's a personal aspiration. I said, I want to move away from this field. I want to pursue something else in my life. I have achieved what I have to achieve. I want to achieve something else. So I moved towards the banking side. So they had a think tank within the Yes Bank, and they were looking for people who bring in that financial acumen and perspective, and a kind of an investment perspective out there, to where various projects may be there. So right from evaluating how any proposal may work in, when you're pitching for any project, how is the project returns going to be, what kind of ROIs you're going to get. So those kind of beautiful things, this is where what I learned in CFA helped me out there. And that's not where it stopped. And I'll tell you a very interesting example. So during my earlier life in like 2004, I was doing treasury in Aditya Birla Group. And that time I had not done my CFA, and I was doing something. While doing my CFA, I realized, boss, if I had done this, I would have used this technique in the treasury analysis, to get what if I'm getting the right return on my cash. Is there a cash drag on it? Those kind of concepts never came in, but it was later on. Okay, coming back to my story, and after that I need something more engaging. You always keep on challenging yourself, and that's where I found government relations coming in.
Okay.
And I think public policy, as we may call it, this is my way to say, public policy is the new frontier of finance, where impact meets insight along with ethics. And that's where it comes in. Whatever I've learned as during my charter journey, during my work experience, I'm able to translate. So whether it's working on capital markets, how the capital markets regulations are going to be, fantastic regulations there are from our regulators. What is the impact of the same, right? From any other development coming in, can we provide insights into it? I think there is a huge scope. What I've learned during my journey, it's deeply embedded in whatever I do out there, and I think it's fantastic from that.
No, that's amazing. I did not do an MBA, but when I was doing CA, during CA Inter, I got to understand that, finance is what I want to do and I want to specialize. And when I started with CFA, then I realized that I enjoy the finance, every single aspect so thoroughly. I ended up specializing the risk and alternate investment and personal finance and everything into that as well. With regards to MBA, so having guest lecture at almost like 30, 40 IIMs and IITs and everything. So I realized that, when you're looking at a CA, so in a nutshell, when I talk to the students, I tell them that, if you're looking at CA, it's accounts, tax, cost, law, audit, finance. When you're looking at an MBA, it's marketing, OB, finance, HR, operations, strategy, business models, etc. And when you're looking at CFA, it is equity, derivatives, portfolio, corporate finance, valuations, and financial statement analysis and all that. So now, at times, all three holistically, add a really lot of value. At times, there are different aspects needed in the business, and accordingly, you have to go ahead with, what your long-term vision about your career is. Obviously, if you're making a career in taxation, you go for a CA, not a CFA. If you're looking at finance, and in fact, now that we have the three portfolios, the three pathways, there's portfolio, and there's private markets, and there's private wealth. So if you're looking at any of those areas, you go for a CFA. If you need the marketing, sales, etc. angle as well, you may be clubbing it with a MBA if needed, depending on your grooming, etc. And I really liked what you said, that you wanted to stress yourself out and stretch yourself and stress yourself both. And that's the reason why you pursued MBA. So I keep on telling the students, at times when they want to, after graduation, if they want to just study CFA at a stretch at home without doing anything, I tell them that, with college, participate as much, do CFA along with it. And if you're doing an internship, do it. If you're out of college, make sure that with CFA, you're also working and not just sitting at home after graduation and then studying. So you need to add that stress level also in your work, so that, what MBA teaches you in terms of multitasking and stretching yourself for those 12, 14, 16 hours a day, you're able to do that when you're preparing and working together as well. Yeah. So I really agree that stress part is very important.
Can I just add on to it, since we are on the conversation? This is my own journey. So I imagine MBA like a Swiss knife. It has various aspects, right?
Okay.
You can use it to open a can, you can use it to tighten, you can use a small. So MBA teaches a lot of other stuff, right? But CFA is a Swiss knife with a scalpel, with a surgeon's scalpel. You know exactly where the surgery has to be done, and you become an expert. And it's a T-shaped learning. You need to know everything, but you need to be an expert when it comes. That expertise, that ethos really helps you. That rigor which comes in, I think, and any professional qualification gives you that rigor. And I think that's why professional qualification is a profession, and that's why you go and pay to watch a professional player playing a tennis, and not you and me playing tennis. We're not professionals. That's where the professional stuff comes in. Yeah.
So the 10,000 hours to become an outlier in any field. Correct. Yeah. So I have, before we jump into further questions, there are two things I want to understand from your journey. So the first thing is, what are the opportunities for CFA candidates when we're looking at the government sector or the regulatory sector? So not just the government, as in SEBI, etc., all also fall under the regulatory space. So what do you want to say to the students who are looking at, getting into the government or the regulatory sector? Just in case, if there's any advice for those people who are preparing for, let's say, an IAS or the civil services and government services, and what if it is not working out for a year or two for them, because we've seen the statistics. So anything you want to tell them and to anybody who wants to get in the government or regulatory sector?
Correct. So I think from a government regulatory sector, it's utterly important that you know the subject really well. You need to have an in-depth knowledge. You cannot be like, I know about it, but I'm not very sure. It doesn't work this way. Policies have an impact, right?
Yeah.
What the charter gave me is what to understand that impact and translate into policy. Let's say if we are supposed to do this is going to be the impact. This is what the impact, or if we are looking at this impact to happen as an outcome, then policy impetus should be on the other side, right? I'll give you an example. So we do a lot of research. So there are a lot many students. They can go on our research policy center. We call it RPC. So we have research on, let's say, BRSR. So when the BRSR was launched, so we did an analysis of it. Recently, we did on Fin Influencer, right? We're talking about Fin Influencer.
Yeah, the
So,
SEBI crackdown happening.
So I mean, there are, and in India, the regulator is really advanced, really, really thorough, and
Yes.
really ahead of the curve, right?
Yes.
As
Contrary to what people think.
Yeah, they are way ahead of the curve, and
Yes.
they're very smart, and they're doing a lot of good job out there, right?
Nice.
So from
Nice to
our
hear.
perspective and our knowledge, in-depth knowledge comes in. Let's analyze what is there, and it's a fantastic. Can we recommend something out there, or to see that the good practices in India gets shared globally? So that's where your in-depth of the knowledge you can do it. If you don't have the depth as well as the clarity of it, you will never be able to translate into for a policymaker out there. And I think that's where for me personally, it has helped it. For young people out there, I'll always say that opportunity comes to everyone. You can either use it or lose it. You're young right now. If you have an opportunity, right, like I had during my time to get a professional qualification like CFA, so I did that. Use that knowledge transcends over job. And I would like to quote a very beautiful quote which Bruce Lee said: "Be water, my friend." You know what he said? "Be water, my friend," because water takes the shape of whatever it
Of anything.
happens. So
Yeah.
I think for me, the qualification is like water. In whatever role I have gotten, it has taken shape and bloomed into that. So exactly when it comes to the government relation, when it comes to the policy, it's about bringing credible voice in shaping financial policy, and which comes through the credibility of what you have done, what you have undertaken. And I think that's why you have global institutions who look for professionals with these qualifications, whether as a role of a research role, financial stability analysis, or sustainability analysis, or even capital market development. So there are various facets of role which has opened up. It's young, it's fledgling, but it's growing at a rapid pace because you need experts into that. For me personally, it has been beautiful. I'm seeing it around that it's beautifully. So right from a journey of being a fund manager to an investment analyst to moving to where the policy has an impact on all these people, it's beautiful how it can help.
So that's exactly my second question. Since you mentioned about Bruce Lee's quote on water and taking the form of water, my question is that at times students find it a bit challenging, especially working professionals who are already in a particular profile, to transition into something else. Now, you have made a couple of transitions in your career, and that too a transition which is not very close to the previous profile, but I would say a major transition from one role to the other. So, how did that happen to you? Because there are students I know who want to make a shift in terms of their work profile and their career and everything, and move to a different kind of a role, and they find it a bit challenging. So, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I'll talk from my experience. It's one is you have the capability, right? And you have the knowledge and the capability, right? Which in this case, the charter enables you to do that. The entire CFA programs take you to that. The third is making yourself acceptable, that you have the credibility and acceptability with the employer, right? So you need to be worth to an employer, and you have to prove it. No people are not gonna like jump on and especially say, I want you guys.
Yeah.
It used to happen. Honestly, I remember during when I had done my charter, I used to get called from Singapore and Hong Kong that you're a charter, you're in India, please come and give an interview. Thanks to that, I have had not many international travels, but that is the other part of it. I'm just saying that you need to work on your soft skills. You need to be very strong on your communication
Yes.
skills, right? You need to be persuasive, right?
Yes.
If you don't have the courage of conviction in yourself, the person on the other side
Persuasion will not happen.
will
Yes.
not happen. So you first need to be convinced that, have I acquired the right knowledge, right? It has required. How does what I have acquired fit into what is being asked for, right? And don't see it from your perspective that I have to value. See it from the other person's perspective. Are you adding value to what he wants? If you're able to add value, tell him, demonstrate him. Once you demonstrate, people will value, people will want you all across the places, right?
Yeah.
And that is what has happened with me when I was really helping that I want to shift, I want to go in another line. I went out, I talked to people, I communicated with people that what are you looking for? I've seen what you have done. This is my capability, this is my knowledge, and you know, this is my analysis. What do you have to say? And if I know, like, this guy knows his stuff, knows this stuff, and he comes from a background which is credible. Another aspect which CFA, it has really helped me that, uh, I always say it's not just a qualification, it's a professional identity rooted in ethics and excellence. So I call it a professional identity, and I carry that identity with me, and that speaks a lot. I say, a lot of people say, globally people recognize it, and they know what it stands for. That's why it's my professional identity, and it is deep rooted in ethics and excellence out there. That is what you need to communicate. We do that. We need to do that more often, and we need to do it more convincingly. So I think when you're trying to break into a new line, new job, new career out there, you first convince yourself, courage or conviction, then you find avenues to convince the other person that you are of value to him, not to you. Once that happens, the bridge gets built in, and if there's an opportunity, they'll reach out to you.
Yes. So my take on this is that, one, of course, that you need to understand what are you bringing to the table. It's always not to ask what is the other person offering to you, but rather to understand what are you bringing to the table. So your conviction, your courage, and that is going to only come from your depth of knowledge and expertise. I was reading this book on leadership and business and management and all of that, and there was something that never hire somebody from your same industry, because then you'll have to do a lot of unlearning and then learning. But if you're hiring somebody from a different industry, you don't have to do the unlearning part. You just have to do the learning part and mold them into your own industry, your own firm and company and work culture and everything. Problem, what I see normally what happens is that, one, people are not able to understand that how their different perspective or experience is going to add value to the different profile or role that that they're looking forward to. Second, to build that depth and conviction in themselves, of course, that is one. Because you'll have to persuade somebody and you'll have to sell yourself to someone that my existing experience is going to give a fresher perspective, and I'll be able to bring something of value to the table based on my existing experience. Because at times people say that that existing experience is of no use, so why should I count that work experience when I'm hiring you? But as you said, it's about the persuasion bit. It's about having that conviction, and I always believe that knowledge never goes waste. So it's about how do you add on to that. So
I'll give you an example, how people
Yes.
convince. It has happened to me. People have reached out saying that, we are interested in the equity side and we are interested in this field. You know what? I have done my analysis. I posted it online. It's all available. Why don't you go and see what my recommendations were? They were dated and stamped. That guy is making an effort, and he's proving a point
Yes.
that, I've created a website where I'm posting what I think about it, and I'm actually analyzing every market
Yeah.
trends. So before even you hire me, what my thought process is. How do I think? How do I explain? How do
And the
I take a
intent.
call? Exactly.
Yeah.
That goes beyond a resume.
Yes.
Similarly, let's say if you're moving to the research side, so I move to the think tank, and then from here, this is the kind of research I do, and this is the in-depth I go into. I do understand equity is not your focus area, but you may have gotten a perspective that how in-depth and how structured, how disciplined I
Yeah.
am. I'll be able to bring the same qualities within you. And he doesn't know about it, but he has the skill set which I'm looking for. You can hire this guy and we'll just mold him into what we want him to do. That's an example. I'm just giving you as an example. Be out there, be proactive, communicate out there. So yeah, that's an example.
So I have another question. Since you've done MBA and CFA both, so what should a CFA charter holder or a CFA level 2, level 3, level 1 candidate should be doing? Either differentiate themselves from an MBA graduate. So I have the answer that that grooming and that aspect comes in, your communication and stretch long hours, etc., all comes in with the MBA program. So what should a CFA candidate do in order to differentiate oneself from an MBA graduate?
So I did my MBA first, and I did my CFA. And
Okay.
MBA teaches you a lot of stuff, right? It teaches you flat. CFA teaches you T-shaped learning, in which you know everything and you know an expert on it.
Yeah.
The other advantage which I figured out was that I did not need to sell and tell people what the three letters CFA stand after my name. That credibility was already established. in my MBA, I had to prove that I've done my MBA from here. This is what the ranking of that MBA school
Yeah.
is. And for global people to understand that this ranking is equivalent to somebody else, it's difficult.
Yeah.
So, I had to sell myself,
Mm-hmm.
literally, and not only sell myself, sell the institution where I
Mm-hmm.
graduated from. That not only I am good, but this
My
institution where I
institution is
did
good.
is good.
Yeah.
In CFA, I never had to do that. So they
Yeah.
already knew that what these three letters mean. All I needed to do was sell myself. So I think that was a great advantage. The second advantage which I figured out, and which people will when you become a charter, is the huge network. There is an amazing network effect which happens, right? So there are 2 lakh members in CFA, right? They're all your network. It's I have reached out to people in different countries, right? And I do, because, and I think once you become a charter holder, you'll also become a society member. Once you become a society member, you're part of that network, the network which networks regularly, because you have to complete learning hours in a year, and then you're meeting with people. There are different sessions out there. I think that I still miss in my MBA. I was networked to my batch, but I was not networked to 3 batches above me or
Yeah.
2 batches down me. The network effect is limited and regional. CFA, the network effect is enormous. It's global, and it's very impactful and and again repetitive. So I think that's an excellent part which I found out from when I did my CFA out there. So I think these 3 points differentiate. Yeah.
So, in terms of skill set, what are the things? Because CFA can becomes a distance learning where we are studying and taking the exams, whereas couple of postgraduate programs like an MBA would be a campus learning. So, what are the things that a charter holder, a candidate, CFA candidate, could be doing, or to put it in a more general, broader sense, what are the skill set that the CFA students should be acquiring in order to make themselves more relevant in today's time, or in terms of placement, in terms of being industry ready?
Yeah. So I think one of the things which I have seen people are doing now, and I can share that with you, right? If they started the journey and they're student and they're level 1 or level 2 out there, right, or level 3, they don't miss an opportunity to network. So as CFA society in India, we host a lot of events, right? A lot of them are physical events in different metros and other places out there. There are young guys out there, they're just networking out there because they know, once I'm a charter holder, before that journey starts, I should have networked with people out there who matter, whether it's an employer or whether it's a mentor or whether it's a guide out there, right? So I think networking, and I really strongly emphasize, start networking as soon as possible. I know people who go on LinkedIn and keep on posting. Let's say I attended this session, and they'll post that I did this, and then they'll attend some other session, they'll post that. Now look at from an employer perspective, and all employers, I'm assuming, majority at least, would look at LinkedIn profile, and then they figure out that this person has been attending very relevant topic on these aspects, and he has some insights, and he's commenting on those. So I think he's aware about it. So I think from my perspective, I'll say go network, attend these sessions. Once you enroll there, a lot of them are also open for level 1, level 2 candidates. Go attend these. There are expert speakers who come in which will give you an insight. You can network with people who are already out there. Don't miss that opportunity, because I do understand, like how you go in a college, you meet them regularly, but this is,
Yeah.
you do get an opportunity,
Yeah.
which the CFA Institute gives you that. I mean,
So,
never leave that opportunity.
I'll give you a few examples over here. So, I remember attending one CFA society event. So, over here in Kolkata, most of the events take place as this place called Conclave.
Yeah.
So, it's got like multiple banquets and a lot of corporate events take place over there. So, I remember attending one event, and Saurabh Mukherjee was kind of doing an India tour for Unusual Billionaires book of his. And happened to attend his session. I have just glimpse memory of the session, and then I ended up shooting a podcast with him. And then there was another instance where, through one of the CFA society members in Calcutta, and he's into wealth management and everything. And through him, I met somebody known as Biharilal Devra, BD. And so he's the CEO at Abacus. And I think I know him for the last 8-9 years. He's been so kind to me in terms of, always when I'm in Mumbai, I'm meeting him. And we are having a very, very good quality discussion, talking about different things, questions, etc. A lot of reading, etc. We keep on exchanging notes on. That happened because I just happened to have lunch with a CFA Society member of Calcutta, with BD in Calcutta when he was here. And then I continued that discussion over the last 10 years, regularly in touch. In fact, in the morning, I was just pinging him for something. It's actually very nice, but I genuinely feel students need to take the effort to physically be out there.
Yes.
Because I see a lot of times, in the classroom as well, I need to tell them that, stop your phone. I want everybody to know each other in the classroom. Now I have to tell them. And, back in the days when we were in college, going to maths tuition in school and all, we would know everybody in the classroom.
Yeah.
But today I have to kind of push, but I'm happy to push that, and I am happy to do that. At least my students are able to do it. And, but that's important to take that effort to get out of your comfort zone, sitting at home in front of your, laptops and attending sessions, and actually going out there in these physical events, as you categorically mentioned.
Yeah. And because in physical event, it's not only your peers, you go beyond you. There are different people from different generation, because I'm assuming a lot of them will be 23, 24, or young people, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And you have old people like me, and there'll be older people like me. So you are meeting across generations. I think networking not only within your peers, but also beyond generations, or beyond leaping the gap.
So you get perspectives.
Exactly. That's how you will get a job. That's why he'll notice you. Why should a person hire you if he has not met you? Oh, I met this guy 2 times and he talks sense. I'll give him an opportunity of an interview, and I'll see whether he does it or not, and then I'll know it. You have already made your mark.
And you also understand, how to interact with whom. You cannot be talking to somebody your age in exactly the same manner as you're talking to somebody 5 years or 10 years or 15 years elder to you. Their thought process would be a little different, and you'll have to be able to make a conversation. And maybe you've met somebody for the first time, but you'll have to be comfortable, initiating a conversation, the icebreaker as we call it. But a lot of people are unable to do that. And that is one of the very important skills I feel that students are supposed to be learning today. Because with the screens and everything, we are even more inhibited in terms of being able to initiate a conversation with someone in person.
Yeah, so I think communication skills is there. I think students need to get over that hitch. It does happen. It used to happen to me. How can I talk to him? No, nobody's going to do anything to you. They'll just talk back. Nobody has wrong intention. Just go out and reach. It's difficult to know it, but once you do it, you need to break the ice. You need to break your comfort or being in an uncomfortable situation, and it will work for you.
I think what helped me to do this was, participating in a lot of college events and all, especially a lot of best manager rounds I used to participate in. And in that, you might be just given 100 rupee, 200 rupee, go out, make money. So you have to buy something, sell something, talk to random people, dance on the streets. I've done it all. And that's the reason why, I'll always push my students that make it a point that you're more out there in events and all with the colleges. And even if you have to take an exam instead of 6 months, in 9 months time, but make sure that you're not losing out on all these opportunities as well parallelly. I know for those who can stretch and manage the events and the college and the professional exams together, great. But otherwise, instead of 6, you take 9 months, but then don't miss out on that opportunity. Just, let's take up a question. There's one on the chat box. Anshmeet has done his MBA from a normal college. I'm assuming it's a tier 2 or a tier 3 college, and wants to pursue CFA in future. So would it be worth it? So I think you've answered the question, and but still, let's just hear it out again.
Yeah, so I'll just summarize, how it helped me, right? For a job, you need to sell 2 things. One is yourself, and B, your qualification, which you have done, right? That you merit those, that you have the right technical knowledge, expertise out there, right? That's this part. And when I say when you sell yourself, it's your soft skill. How do you sell yourself, right? With the CFA, right? You don't need to sell the qualification. People know what it brings. People know what these 3 letters mean if you have done it, and what kind of skill sets you come with, right? The second, so you need to consider on the second end, which is selling yourself, which is having the right communication skill, having the right connect, being more articulate, being more precise, being more concise in what you're trying to say. I think that really helps you. So I think if you've done an MBA, which is from a second tier, and if you go and give it to an employer, it becomes really difficult to sell it out there. CFA qualification brings your resume and highlight. Now it's up to you how you take it ahead, right? It just gets you into the right box, right? So I think that's why it becomes even more important. And I think it's a global benchmark, right? And that's because the qualification, whether you give it in India, whether you give it in Sydney or New York or London, it's the same examination, same rigor out there, right? So you acquire the same skill set, right? That's why global employers recognize it. They say, whether I hire a guy in New York or whether I hire a guy here, they have the right skill set to deliver. If they have to if they have to do any investment analysis or valuation, that's where it comes in. For an MBA, you need to sell whether how your MBA is good to a NYU Stern or any other one which you want to do in Harvard or in IIMs. Then it's a battle of explaining why this is, or how, or if it is lesser, then how much lesser is it, right? Because then they start doubting your technical capability because they don't know who this college is and what kind of technical expertise they would have imparted, I would say.
Yeah.
That battle gets won. And I think that's why it makes a lot of sense to get a globally recognized qualification.
Since we're on this topic, so how do firms, or even what can students do? I would rather ask the question from a student perspective. So there are students who are coming from maybe a tier 2, tier 3 town or a smaller town or area. And because of digital, I think there are a lot of advantages as well, where one has access to education, classes, learning, etc. absolutely from anywhere across the world and or corner in India. So is there anything you would advise those students to do in order to students from the rest of the country?
So yeah, so I do meet a lot of our new members who have who just become charter holders and everybody who are from tier 2 cities also out there. And one of the reasons they take up, there are many reasons. Or one of the strong reasons they take up is that because they are looking for bright future out there in a globe, let's say in a global setup or a global organization out there, right? And it's from them that I listen, and then I get, okay, this is such an inspiring story. There was this person who was sitting in a very tier 2 town, and because of technology, as you said, everything is democratized. You can get access to your lectures, you understand a subject better. It's no longer that, if I'm not studying in a particular town or a particular pin code in a town, I will not be able to clear. The access is to everyone, right? Once the access opens up, I think the world opens up for you, and I think it's a great opportunity. Use online digital media, digital lectures out there, get the knowledge you have. And once you're there, it doesn't matter from an employer perspective that, whether you're from tier 2, tier 3, if you have the right knowledge and skill set. I'm looking for people with right knowledge and skill set, right? Very simply said, you can acquire from Mumbai, you can acquire from tier 2, tier 3, or you can acquire from New York or from Sydney, London. For me, it's as good as, I know this guy is worth it, and I need a guy like this. That's all what he knows about, right? So I think it has never been better. 10 years back, things were different. Things were not available digitally, right? Access was limited for few who could be in that region or particular time and pay that much money. But I think now it's very easy. So it's a golden opportunity.
So before I jump into the question from the students and the attendees today, just one more question I want to ask first. So if somebody is working in back office or middle office roles, how do they transition into front office roles?
So I think it's
because yours is a very much front end role at the moment.
Yeah.
And when and that too interacting with the regulators and on the government side, so it would be quite different. So, and you've also transitioned. So what do we do and how do we go about it?
My first recommendation would be that everything is possible. It's not that you just you started in back office. I know a lot of people who started in back office now in the front office and have changed locations also, right? So it's not that I just started in a back office, I'll remain in back office. No, that's not the case. That's a good avenue to learn in a global setup. Understand, once you're starting a job also, there's a style of working. And when you're working in a global organization, there's a global way to work. If in a back office, my boss may be in Australia, my boss may be in New York, my boss may be in London, right? I need to work across cultures, not only time zones, right? Across cultures. And that is so critically important, right? How much time you're spending in the back office as a cultural learning, as a learning for how global organizations operate. And you'll find all the global organizations have set practices and principles and follow a lot of ethics. It's not that, I remember when I was a kid, a lot of people used to say, chalta hai. Like, it doesn't work this way. The world somehow doesn't work this way. Yes. And the global organization, you just can't say to your boss, well, I did evaluation.
Chalta is a big problem.
So, you can't say to your boss that I did evaluation, mine was 100, the market price was 400, chalta. No, it doesn't happen. You will develop ethics, you will develop ethos, you will develop discipline, and you will develop the acumen, right? Use that and move to the front ending or whenever you're changing a job. So it's not at all difficult. I think it's a great opportunity to learn how global organizations work. So it's really great if you get an opportunity in a back office. Yes, you can move around, you can move along, nobody is stuck. I have changed my careers, I've changed organizations over a period of time, right? Nobody stops you, and that is a not normal progression out there.
So what I've also noticed with the students at times is that when you're in the back office role or the mid office role, I tell them that see, you cannot change your role immediately, so that is not a controllable factor. One, you're applying or you're trying to transition, that is fine. But while you're working in that profile, you enjoy that profile. You should know 100% of everything in that profile. There should not be any anomaly or any kind of a area that you do not understand. You should know the entire work of your colleague, your junior, and your manager, and you should be in a position where you don't have to ask a single question, anything that is not known to you. When you have that kind of depth and expertise, you automatically are poised to move up the ladder or to transition. So that's what I kind of advise when students are looking at a role shift or a mid to a front office kind of a role switch.
Correct. I think that's perfect enough, right? So give your best in what you're doing,
Yeah.
and look to move from back office to boardroom. B2B, back office to boardroom.
Yeah, that's a
Obviously, it
nice
will
one.
not happen over.
Yeah.
It will not happen in
Yes.
1 year, 3 year, 5 year.
Yes.
To move to the boardroom, you have to go to that level out there. But I'm just saying, be patient,
Yeah, and with
and
the social media and everything, and with all this quick commerce apps and everything, that at times people have this. Of course, it's human conditioning and everything, that you start feeling that your career is also going to move in that direction in that pace. But that does not happen. Career depth, knowledge, expertise, etc., ethics, values, these take time to build over the years, and that requires patience and resilience.